So, Jos, can you just talk to us about your first memory of skating?
My first memory of skating really was back in 1978, before I came to Australia. I saw some guys in Amsterdam riding skateboards, and I went, wow, they're just amazing looking machines, and I thought, that's incredible. And then when I came to Australia, I went to we moved to Ballarat. That was back in 1978, and I was 13 then. First thing I bought was a small skateboard, was a rollerboard. I think they were made in Melbourne. That's the sort of one there still, but that's not the original. But they were super flexible, and I used to, just cruise around on that a lot. I mean, because I was quite by myself, I was quite isolated, not many friends yet, didn't speak the language that well. So just really, spend a lot of time on that little board. And and then after a while I started making friends, the price of those boards were about $35 back in the day, and it was still a lot of money, but it really seen a lot of mileage and got a lot out of that one. And and especially because we sort of grew up in a country town, as you know, we didn't have the technology, we didn't really know what was going on, so we were doing just basic tricks like handstands, we all thought that was it, or coffins, but where we were sort of had to skate, it was a big sort of concrete pass, and there was a local pub there. And obviously you used to always nearly take it all the drunk, so you used to get chased down the road a bit, and it was kind of quite adventurous, and and then later on, because we also used to go quite for a big few walks there, we found the Bunyan golf course, and they had an old spillway there, and that was a bit like set up like a half pipe, and by that stage, my brother got a friend who used to design his own boards. He was called Rodney Ashton, sorry about the pronunciation, but and he started he made my deck for me, and I remember he was called Rod Ashton Design. His company was, it wasn't really a company, but that was his name, and it was always spelled red, and he would cut it out of sandpaper and glue it to the deck of the board. And then, but that was the time also when we started getting bigger trucks. I mean, these trucks I think were about $20 each, but the bearings already were $2.50 each, so you were up for about $60-70, and back in those days it was just a lot of money. But because we made our own decks, and it was kind of resourceful and a fun time. But so there were bigger decks, and we could really easier skate a little bit more ramps and stuff as well. And of course, when I snapped that deck, I was kind of proud of that. I went, my first deck that I snapped really skating. And so it really was a fun time. But even where we're skating at the golf course, we used to get chased off with guys swinging golf clubs, and really had to do some runners, But it was all the fun of it. And even remember crossing the golf course, we used to use our boards as protection from flying golf balls, because it was like a war zone. But we loved it, and it was just exciting. It was very resourceful. You just looked for stuff. You always were making little ramps, even a door against the wall, we would try and get the most out of it. But so it was good.
What was the attitude of skateboarding back then, and why did you decide to start skateboarding as opposed to, I don't know what the big sport was in Ballarat? It might have been footy or something, but what talk to me about the attitude of skateboarding, and also why you did it.
The attitude very much was, for us, punk rock. We were really into the Damned and the Sex Pistols and the Stranglers and all that stuff, and already, that this was 1978, so not many kids were into that. Also, growing up in the country, especially the place Bunyan, there was, footy was everything. If you weren't part of that sort of scene, you were a bit of an outcast. So we were maybe a bit more, a bit more arty. We just did different things for most of those kids, and we just didn't really fit in. As long as we, we always got on with them, but it was just different, and we always felt different. So really, it was really a whole attitude, we used to dress up, but even, gear that we used to, it was all very make-do, we'd find all the little pads, they looked ridiculous, we had ridiculous looking helmets, but it didn't matter, you know, and all the information we got basically was from magazines from America, you know, and just go, wow, you know, look at all the old rector gear and the beautiful boards that you used to get. But yeah, it was just very inspirational for us, and it was just attitude as well, you know. It was just, yeah, fun.
And what about the gear in the magazines? I mean, how far, you know, a lot of people have said that, you know, the magazines came out like to Australia 6 months later, and so you were kind of behind all the trends anyway. Did that really worry you out in Ballarat, or?
No, being behind the trends was never an issue, you know. Look, we just skated. We just tried to enjoy it, you know. We never took it too serious. We knew, you know, in America there was all the setups for it in those days. And then, we just did what we could, you know, and pushed it as far as we could in our own way, you know. We used to still get incredibly hurt, you know. Like, I'm sure when I go to that slipway, half my skin is still on those walls, you know, because it was pretty hardcore, but... yeah, exciting. And but also then later on, they did end up building a skate park in West Melton, and that was really exciting for us, you know. We had sort of the bigger boards, still we're making them all ourselves, the decks, but just having that feel of a real skate park, it was so exciting. The only thing is that we used to have to catch the train, and even Melton then had kind of a reputation of always getting hassled, you know, and... but yeah, it was never really any issue, you know, and it was really exciting until they bulldozed the place. But again, you know, it was a lot harder for us to get there because we didn't have cars in those days. We were too young. But it was good.
So tell me more about getting to, I mean, Melton was the only skate park for you guys, and can you tell me about how you used to get there and what time you would have to go and how many guys would go there with you guys?
Yeah, the way we probably got there was mainly your parents dropping you off. Maybe they had to go to Melbourne, so they would pick you up on the way back, or otherwise have to catch trains. But, you know, that would be quite costly, you know, because you'd have to catch a train back, and then you had to pay for your fee of skating there for a couple of hours as well. I can't really remember what it was, but, you know, it was definitely money well spent. Look, I recognise some of the guys that used to skate there now, but because we weren't really well connected, it was just a group of two other guys, me and two other guys. But yeah, you know, people were always friendly more to skaters, but also it was the time when BMXers became more on the scene, so there was already, I always felt a bit of friction between the two. And also being BMXers, they were a bit more stealth, so they would come more from anywhere, so you'd always have to look around a bit more. But look, that was all good. But yeah, you know, we did make some friends, but I think, you know, because we weren't all that good compared to the crews that were down there, you know, I think if we were better skaters, you know, they would have maybe made a bit more of an effort with us. But yeah, they were always, you know, I remember it was Mark, I forgot his surname, but yeah, you know, he always came up to us and really supportive, and I never saw Tony Hallam or probably Richard Hyatt there, but I know they skated there, but we must have always missed each other, which was a pity.
So going back to getting equipment, how did you guys get your equipment? And I mean, were there many stores in Ballarat at that stage that were selling the gear, and how much was it? I mean, did you have to have a part-time job to get it? You know?
Yeah. Look, getting the equipment sort of in a country town, it was really minimal. I mean, these bigger trucks that first started coming out, honestly, I think instead of using aluminium, they were made out of lead. They weighed so heavy, but they did have the early Edwards wheels and fairly good Japanese bearings. But so if you just made a decent enough deck, it was very skatable, you know, and especially, because being bigger pieces. But really, even ordering, we weren't quite financial enough to really get the better stuff, you know, so we just sort of made do, but it was good enough. No. But even today, I look at skateboards today and I think, Jesus, you know, even the cheaper ones from Kmart, I think, if I only had those in a day, you know, we would have been so happy. But yeah, thank God it's moved on from the stuff I used to skate.
As you got on like into the 80s, did you have any major, you know, style gods that you really aspired to, locally and also internationally?
Yeah, mainly the influences came through magazines, and so just the classics like the Dwayne Peters, they were very big in the day. The Olsen, Jeff Grossos, and the Alba Brothers. Yeah, they were really our influence. Also, their attitude, they were all punk rock, making their own music, and we really looked up to those guys. And but then later on, we finally got the Bones Brigade, and that was just such an eye-opener. The way they took it to that next level, even creative-wise, even seeing Rodney Mullen popping that first ollie, over stuff, and we just going, what the hell, this was just like, I don't know, it was like a religious experience for us. We were really blown away with it, and we just got so excited. And straight away, I think after that came out, we started making, there were a lot more younger guys who were actually far more in touch with that side already, and started doing more amazing tricks, really building bigger ramps. So we started skating with those. So, but it was all, again, still very homemade. But then when I moved out of Ballarat, they built a bowl in Wendouree. And that was good, but I was living in Melbourne then, so I kind of missed out. And they built a lot more parks, which I think has been really good for the town. And the time I moved out of Ballarat was probably 83 when I started doing a course in Melbourne, when I did sculpture, so at RMIT. So, but even then, the whole skate scene really died. But I always had my old skateboard and really used it more as a form of transport. I never really stopped riding it, but I was really missing that interaction with other people. And even I remember just being on trams or walking down the street and then seeing guys on skateboards. I really wanted to connect to them, and be really say, can I hang out with you guys? But, being sort of a country boy from Melbourne, speaking with a strong accent was all a bit something you didn't do because they were probably tougher. Yeah.
So what happened after that for you? Tell me about, you were studying and then there was the resurgence of skating and how did that...
Yeah, look, I was actually taught to... this resurgence of skating I was taught about one of my really early friends that I first started skating with, and he said, look, Jos, it's all happening apparently in the States again, it's really come back in a big way, and that was probably 1997, I think, or no, 80s, in the 80s, no, 80, sort of 87, and there was big tours going on, trips all over the world, and but then I felt, already the kids, because there was ramps being made, already they were sort of miles ahead of me, so I never really got into that. I just stayed more to just doing it more as a fun thing, never too serious. So I wasn't really fitting into it. I mean, I was doing sort of other things. I made my own sort of like mountain board for a while as well, which I was really trying to push this as a design. But then, I took a 10-year-old to a local skate park here in Newport, and I went, man, look at this place, and I just felt young again. I went, next thing I'm going to do, or the next day I'm going to do is get a new skateboard, and that's what I did. And that was probably back in quite late 96 or 2006. And but just really reconnected with a lot of guys, and just being actually, I know I was a lot older, but I still managed to, I think, have as much fun as I would have had back in those days, and age just didn't matter because everybody was still on that same plane, everybody was just there to have fun, to enjoy the whole process, and it was just such a great eye-opener, and especially having a child today, who's really into it, so I can really spend, or a son, spend some quality time with him and really enjoyed the whole thing, and he's really into it, and he's getting better than me, and I reckon it's the best thing ever, and yeah.
I don't know if he's getting better than you. Have you seen yourself?
Oh.
No. You rip parts.
Thank you, but with a lot of injuries, but that keeps me young.
That's right.
So.
Conflicts. Can you remember any kind of major conflicts that you had, either with your parents not wanting you to go out and not all that kind of stuff, or authority and police, or even councils getting in your way, and even skaters? I mean, any kind of conflict. Can you remember any of that?
No, I can't really remember that much conflict, except for the incidents like skating at a golf course and being chased off there with golf clubs. But also, yeah, especially maybe more in Ballarat, there was always cars driving past full of bogans, and getting just harassed and chased. And some of these kids were quite tough, so you just really had to be quite wary and be ready, sort of have an escape plan if you were skating somewhere. But it never really became an issue. But also, but always with skaters, I always seemed to connect quite well with them. It was never an issue, and it was always a really positive experience.
So with the Ballarat, you were in the Ballarat scene from about 78 to 83. Were there other skaters there that, Lucas Hulsen, he's a lot younger. But were there any skaters there? Because I know that we've got footage of the first ramp, or the ramp being built and stuff in a warehouse. Did you get to skate the ramp at all there, or did you left Melbourne by then? Left for Melbourne by then?
Yeah, look, there were some skate bowls. There was one up in Woodman's Hill that was sort of like the classic massive sort of half pipe, the rounded one without the flat bottom. But we used to go up there, and the father, because the son had moved away, and he wouldn't let us skaters because already he was concerned about liability, which was fair enough. But but pretty much Ballarat, there wasn't much of a scene when I was skating there. It all came later when I moved to Melbourne, sort of maybe mid-80s. It really started firing up again. And it was happening. Sometimes I would join those guys, but they were already way better than I was, some of them anyway, there were some really rad skaters.
Can you remember any tragedies or losses?
Look, I can't really remember any sort of serious incidents in the skate world, my friends just actually stopped skating way before I did, because I always sort of knew that wasn't really their thing. And which was fine, but obviously there were some kids doing crazy stuff. I remember down this spillway as well. On one side there was the dam, so if you couldn't grab your board in time, your board would roll in the water. But on the other side was this massive sort of like a half pipe just sloping down, and this crazy guy, really fun guy, but typical sort of Aussie guy, Tony Coxall, he said, "Oh, I'm going to go down it." And then we went, "Mate, you're not going to, are you?" And it was finished off with blackberries there, but he just went straight down it. He absolutely nearly killed himself, but he got up and laughed about it, but he was tough, but he was, great character. But also, look, close incidents, maybe me going down this massive hill on this tiny board, and this stupid idiot, was a really big, like Mount Buninyong or something, and this guy pulled up right behind me. I kept driving by right behind me, and I thought, if I'm going to come off, he's just going to run over me, surely he can pass me. But maybe he was watching me, I don't know, or he was taunting me. But in the end, I was doing, on this little machine, probably about 40, 50 Ks, and I had to bail, so I just went running down the road and falling and just tumbling for miles. But luckily, for some reason, I was okay. But I never did it again.
It's kind of the way you recover from everything, isn't it?
No, I've been extremely lucky considering, where and how I've landed sometimes. Yeah.
So even skating today, because can you tell us about how old you are and how hard you skate?
Look, my age is 53 at the moment, but I think I still have that sort of 16 age attitude, I still feel really young when I'm on my board, but I have to, I rely on my limbs for my work, my creation, so I have become a lot more sensible, I think, but I'll leave it up to other people to judge if they think I skate hard or not.
What's your nickname? Mad Dog?
Yeah, Mad Dog, Little Dwayne, So, I take that with pride. I wear that with pride.
Bless it. What do you miss about those days?
What do I miss about those days? Actually, not much. I think, skating has really improved. Maybe it was more that things weren't so instant, you know. Like I look at kids today and I think you've got it kind of easy, but you know, again, they're far more competitive, so they've got to come up with the new tricks, and that's just, yeah, in some ways, it's a great thing, you know. It's just really evolving, and you know, some of the tricks, as you know, that they start off with as beginner tricks, like kick flips and all that stuff, you know. I can't even dream of doing that now. Maybe I couldn't be bothered, because I'm more about just, you know, surfing it. I try to, or, you know, just big grinds and simple things. But yeah, I find it amazing. It's really inspiring. It's almost, when you see some of, especially that street skating, you know, the inventiveness and the way they have taken it, and it's just art to me, you know. It's just beautiful to watch, and so clever and inventive. But I find it hard to follow exactly what's going on, because it's so quick.
You didn't do any competing, did you?
I did do once at Melton. I did a small competition, and again, I was up against more the local guys, and I got nowhere. But I remember discussing it with one of they come up to me and said, look, you know, what about us country kids? You know, we don't have this maybe there should be a new division. But they said, yeah, we can think about it. But after that, they shut the place down anyway. So it was never eventuated. But no competition. Seriously.
Who do you look up to now? Just for...
Look, I always look up to Tony Hallam, you know, just his skating, his style, yeah, it's just his helpfulness, you know. He's really there to support the industry. It's never really about himself. He's always so keen to show you a trick. I find it really admirable, you know. But of course, you know, there's the more newer skaters, the Pedro Barrosos and all those guys, Jaws, incredible, you know. But yeah, but really from my level, yeah, Tony Hallam is an amazing guy, really giving, super.